and Savior. Amen.
Amen. Please, a louder amen. Thank you very much for volunteering to take this prayer. And again, as I said, our media partners are Joy News and Joy 99.7. And we are live on Joy TV and also on Joy FM, as well as on all the Joy social media handles. So please, if there's anyone wanting to join, kindly follow us on those online. If the media team is ready, please give us a tune so that we stand on our feet to sing the national anthem of Ghana. Please, can you give us a tune? That's lovely. Please, let's be upstanding. So, as we are upstanding and with that beautiful tune, on the count of 3, we sing together. 1, 2, 3. God bless our homeland, Ghana, and make our nation great and strong, bold to defend forever the cause of freedom and of right. Fill our hearts with true humility, make us cherish fearless honesty, and help us to resist oppressors' rule with all our will and might forevermore. And help us to resist oppressors' rule with all our will and might forevermore. Thank you. Please resume your seats. So, ladies and gentlemen and distinguished guests here invited, good morning once again. We are gathered here for the unveiling and discussion of proposals for political parties for the 2024 national elections, dubbed the GhIE Manifesto. This event is organized by the Ghana Institution of Engineering as part of our civic duty in support of national decision-making. To welcome us to the Engineering Center and give us an opening remark, I have the pleasure of inviting none other than the President of the Ghana Institution of Engineering, Engineer Kwabena Jima Bimpon. Please, with a loud round of applause, let's welcome him.
Well, thank you very much, Engineer Melome. I know today we have probably be spending about 4 to 5 hours here. But then I am grateful to the Almighty God for granting us today, and more importantly, for bringing us together for this important national conversation. The Ghana Institution of Engineering has often been asked what we do in the face of the myriad of development challenges that our country is faced with. And that reminded me of Amachi Dede when he was asked which English song has he composed. And you know the answer that he gave? Iron Boy, you know, a Chinyum. In the same vein, the Ghana Institution of Engineering has been doing a lot. But I don't know, probably by our training, we always want to be in the background. And what I have said is that we want to be in the kitchen, helping in the preparation of the food. But this time around, but even let me add that, even in that preparation, the ingredients are supplied and dictated by others. But this time around, we want to select our own ingredients, prepare the food, and be at the table where decisions are taken. We are no more going to be on the menu, because when you're on the menu, what happens? You'll be eating. However, I can say with confidence that we have always found ourselves, as I was mentioned, in the kitchen. But then, we are going to ensure that we help in shaping the national discourse. We believe that it is time that we come out and present what we believe will help our country. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have taken that bold step in the preparation of what we have named the Manifesto series. This is a document not only for our consumption, but for the consumption of all political actors and the general public. Yesterday I did mention, when we were being interviewed on TV, that in those days when your election was based on how well you are able to trade insults, how well you are able to disparage your opponent, it's long gone. We have matured as a people. And therefore, we now speak or vote based on issues. It's not about where you come from or how handsome or beautiful you are, so far as, they'll come up with all these very nice pictures. No. Our discourse or the way we think has changed. And therefore, we have decided to dwell on 4 thematic areas. And just as the MC said, we've chosen this based on certain considerations. And these considerations are: 1, the direct impact that they have on development; 2, the interest of the public; and 3, they are linked directly to our national infrastructure plan. And we'll be hearing or listening to some presentations from experts. And a lot of the time, I have had opportunity of looking at the National Development Plan and some manifestos of our political parties. They provide the broad framework. They provide what I'll call the brush strokes. Okay, the artist will start with broad strokes. But then we, as engineers or engineering practitioners, believe in solutions. We believe in solutions. It is not rhetorics. It is not how well you are able to articulate the views, but how, not what. How would you do it? And that is the kind of solutions that we want to provide for our country. So we are talking about the urban space, urban public transportation, artisanal mining, sustainable energy. And we have already prepared a 100-page document, which we have shared with all the political parties. And please, political parties, we've told you, I know NPP has already gone ahead, but when I listened to Dr. Baumia, I could see some snippets of what we have put together. And I believe that NDC would also follow suit. There is no plagiarism here. We've given you free access. Just use it if you want to copy the whole thing. And for those of you who do not have manifesto planning committees, please go ahead and use it. We will not charge you anything. This is our contribution to the development of our country. So this morning, and probably into the afternoon, we are going to have discussions, and we have invited our political actors, our built environment professionals, and the general public to help us discuss these topics and to come out with a consensus at the end of the day. And as I said, this is our contribution to the national agenda. I would like to commend our committee, the Professional Ethics Practice Committee, or Professional Practice and Ethics Committee, who have helped to put this together, and the various experts. We started this just as an idea. This is an innovation. It was just an idea, but today we are seeing the reality. And I believe that, just as we've said, Manifesto series, so it is not going to end with today. Probably as we go along, we'll be delving deeper into other areas. Just to, because we have to be an advocate for our people. We cannot just sit here as engineers. We have great minds. We have great people. And when you listen to the experts today, you acknowledge that. But unfortunately, as I said, we have always been in the background. Today, there's going to be a paradigm shift, and we are starting. A lot of the time, we've been asked to also go into politics. I think that we have to, because it is not enough to criticize. It is not enough to say all sort of things, because that has been our bane. We are always criticizing. But who should do it? It is you and I, and you are welcome to go ahead and do this. I would want to mention a few things here, and somebody would asking probably why this and what is it about. The primary purpose, and if you have that document, you will find that in our introduction. We've said that the primary purpose of this Manifesto series is to offer well-researched and practical policy suggestions that the political parties can adopt and integrate into their manifestos. These recommendations are therefore aimed at addressing progressive national issues, sustainable development, and an improved quality of life for all Ghanaians. And my past president says that we should stop talking about sustainable transportation and all those things. We should talk about quality of life, because when you talk about quality of life, it encompasses everything about all issues of development. The specific objectives of this series will include to influence policy formulation and sectorial reforms. I will not go into the details. To promote sustainable development. And if you look at the SDGs, 6, 7, 9, 11, and probably somewhere down there, 12 or 13, they are all engineering-based solution or development goals. And as Dr. Boachi has said, what is it? Oh, once I say it, then you just mention it. Without engineering, Africa is going nowhere. And without engineering, Ghana is going nowhere. We need engineering solutions for the challenges that we find in our countries. We also want to generate and enhance public discourse. We want the public to be thinking about things which matter, not on how much you are going to give me during the political season. Because, now it has become monocracy. We are no more thinking about the development of our country, and we have to change that narrative. We then also want to empower our political parties, because as we are aware, some of the political parties are well endowed, others are not. But through this series, we believe that we'll be able to empower those who are not well endowed to take what we have and then polish it for their manifestos. With these few words, I would like to welcome you to the GhIE Manifesto series and wish all of us successful deliberation. Thank you very much and welcome.
Please, let's give our distinguished president another round of applause. So, as rightly said, without engineering, Ghana is going nowhere, and without engineering, Africa is going nowhere. And as engineers, we must not just be on the menu, otherwise we'll be eating. We shall proceed now to hear from our distinguished experts who will be giving us highlights of the key thematic areas as established by our president. Our first speaker to lead us in a presentation of the GhIE's proposal for the management of urban space is none other than our distinguished past president of the Ghana Institution of Engineering and passionate sustainability advocate, Engineer Magnus Lincoln Kwashi. Allow me to also add that he is the current president of the Ghana Consulting Engineers Association. Please welcome him with a round of applause.
Thank you very much, Engineer Melome. While we attempt to overcome a technical challenge, I will tell you a short story. And so in 2006, I had the opportunity to lead a delegation to Brazil as part of how we can transform our city's urban transport. So we met a young journalist. Then we found out that in Brazil, they use alcohol, apeteshi. So they use alcohol, flex fuel, for vehicles. So in the discourse, I told this young journalist, 20-year-old Brazilian, that, in Ghana we drink it. And he got confused and came back to ask me, say, so how do we drink it? Do we go to the filling station? You go to the pump station, so if you buy, say, 10 rias, you put 8 rias in the car and you put 2 in your mouth. And I said, it doesn't work that way. In Ghana, we drink it in gallons. Then he came back and asked me, does it mean that your people walk very fast? Because when you put fuel in a vehicle, it does what? It moves. And so this is a young Brazilian who, in his lifetime, is seeing innovation and technology being used in his country. And at that time, Ghana produced 40 million gallons of apeteshi. And we drank it. Anyway, so this morning, I have the pleasure to share this discourse with you on management of urban space. Management of the urban space. In the broader context of this topic, one of the important questions we all have to ask ourselves as citizens is, what kind of cities do we want? What kind of cities? And so in the broader context of this discussion, one important question we have to contemplate on as citizens, every citizen, and for those of us who happen to lead in such discourse, is what kind of cities do we want? What kind of cities do we want? Urban spaces refer to the physical environment within cities that are situational. They should be resilient and also transformative. I am seeing what you don't see, unfortunately. The management of urban spaces involves strategic planning, design, and regulation of land use and infrastructure within our cities to optimize the efficiency, functionality, and livability of urban areas. Managing urban spaces concerns the arrangement of transportation systems, residential areas, industrial zones, and dignified public spaces such as parks, playgrounds, and green areas. Well-planned cities have a positive impact on the economy. When our cities are well-planned, it stimulates economic growth. They create jobs. They increase property values and also enhance quality of life of citizens. In fact, there's a strong relationship between public spaces and the health and well-being of people. There's a strong relationship between public spaces and the health and well-being of any people group. Well-planned cities ensure social equity by making essential services accessible. They foster social equity. They encourage social equity, cohesion, and a sense of belonging. A few years ago, we visited the city of Bogota, and they had built nearly 3,125 parks, public spaces. In 3 years, that's what the mayor did. He built over 3,000 parks because he felt that our cities must be allowed to breathe. If we look at the urbanization trends in our country now, urban population increased nationally from 50.9 in 2010 to 56.7 in 2021, with almost half the increase in Greater Accra region and Ashanti regions. So this is from the housing census. 2 out of 5 urban dwellers live in informal settlements, slums, characterized by overcrowded housing, inadequate sanitation, and lack of basic services. The proportion of urban residents with access to piped water declines. In major urban centers in Ghana between 2000 to 2010, with Accra experiencing a decline from 91% water access to 69%. Only 10% of our daily solid waste, that is 12,700 tons, is collected. And so where does the rest go? They find the waste is found in drains. Sometimes people walk across open lands. You see a very beautiful house, they walk across and dump refuse on the opposite side. Traffic congestion and associated public health and productivity costs have increased, largely due to inadequate public transportation. According to the UN, 70% of Ghana's population will live in urban areas by 2050. So I would like to quote what the Institute of Transportation Engineers, USA, stated in 2005. At the heart of successful urban planning is the understanding that cities thrive when human experience is prioritized. At the heart of successful urban planning is the understanding that cities thrive when human experience is prioritized. Now, 3 important things that happen within the urban space when we all wake up, which we cannot avoid, is the 3 M's: movement, market, and meeting. In terms of movement, We need to look at our urban rail systems, roads, cycle lanes, pedestrians, infrastructure, and of course, public transit system. Most of you may be aware that we have attempted what even set up the Department of Urban Rules was a study by Delucator way back in 1986. At that time, they even recommended that we should look at public transport. We need to plan our cities in such a way that our industries, commerce, or services are very well related to our transport systems. We need areas where we can meet and greet. If you go to a lot of our city centers, it's so difficult. We don't have parks. There are no places to meet. What we have found ourselves doing is just eating. Okay. One more. What I tried to avoid this morning is what is happening. Okay, can you move to the next slide? Okay, so what happens within urban space is that there are so many things that when we wake up, we undertake to do. And we have to find out how we can manage this within the same space. Within the same space. Okay, so if you take the space between two property lines, a lot is happening. People are going to school, people are going to hospitals. So that's what our land uses are all about. We need to make sure that people can arrive safely. Children are going, how do our children arrive in school? And those are things we have to be asking ourselves. Because people wake up at 4 a.m. with their daughters or children or sons. At 4 a.m., a young boy starts his life almost every day. And then arrive in Makola. The only thing probably we are not doing in the vehicle or trotro is bathing. Everything else happens. You wear the powder, you wear the pomade, you dress the child, and then sometimes if they happen to be in a private car, they will come very early to wait at the school. And I've seen this happen at Rich School. I've seen this happen. In fact, one time I told this same story, and this gentleman said that his father did that with him. He had returned from Illinois University to come and contribute to solve the problem. And so this is how some children arrive. So what can we do in the areas we live so that we can improve the quality of life of our citizens? And this is what we have to talk about. Too often you hear many groups just offer say, and then sometimes even ministries that, okay, let's buy X number of buses. It doesn't solve the problem. We can bring in 10,000 buses. It will not improve our quality of life. How do we manage the space? Should we all go from one point, from A to B, or can we redesign our cities in such a way that we are able to help everybody arrive at the places they go safely? Okay, and this can be done today with what we call reverse urban practices. Okay, can you move to the next slide? And so this is a streetscape. It's a streetscape, okay? But it looks like somebody's sitting room. Everything happens there. Now, nobody will do this for us unless we decide what we want. This is how we can contribute to the quality of life of the people. So it isn't just about one group building roads, as it were. We need to think through this iterative process of how we ensure that urban traffic and urban design meet in the same space. Okay. So talking about the imbalance in the incorporation of the 3 M's, what happens is that there's inefficient transportation of goods, passengers, and what? Services, because there's an imbalance. There's frequent and intensive flooding in most urban areas, poor liquid and solid waste management. Now, you would observe that almost all our storm drains are becoming sewer lines, because most of the houses we build now, we emit the effluent from our septic facilities into the storm drains. But the storm drains are supposed to carry rainwater, so that they will send them to the outfall. They will improve our aquifers. So when we need water, we can tap. But we keep, as it is, destroying our aquifers, okay? And very soon, when we need water, we will have to treat and treat and treat. It costs us. Inadequate housing, lack of provision and preservation of urban spaces, and then inability to mobilize revenue management. Planning for, next slide, please. And so we need to plan for people. We need to plan for people, making sure that people are prioritized, okay? We need to locate meaningful activities and daily amenities like schools, green areas, and shopping centers. Lay out routes for pedestrians, cyclists, and elderly to move to and fro to their locations. Develop lines for public transport. How do we restore balance? We need a synergy and a shared vision that persists at the city scale. We need to ensure complete policy implementation, strong political and administrative decentralization structures and systems, adequate infrastructure financing and mechanisms. Urban functions must be clear between ministries and other agencies to avoid duplications, proper contract management and regulation, and how we manage our political expectations. In the past, we have undertaken some efforts to address this. And so you may be aware that we have the National Urban Policy, we have the affordable housing projects. There have been attempts to introduce the bus rapid transit system for more than 15 years. The waste segregation and recycling projects, additional urban rail, and many initiatives. In fact, some of it we have been thinking of even building ropeways and monorails. All of this is in the discussion here in our country. In conclusion, I think one important thing for all of us is to be intentional about implementation. We need a shared vision and a proper management and regulation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Magnus Kwashi. Please let's give him another round of applause. So the insights we have heard from Engineer Magnus Kwashi are highlights of one of the 4 key thematic areas of GhIE's proposals for inclusion in national manifestos as we plan our nation's development. His presentation focused on the management of urban space. He began by establishing the need for the management of urban space by emphasizing that available data shows that there are increasingly more people living in urban areas than at any point in our history. He suggests that there are more than 56 people living in urban areas, and Accra is contributing the most to this. Referencing examples from other countries, he makes the point that it is important that we take into account how we manage these spaces. And the 3 considerations we should have can be referred to as the 3 M's. One, our urban management should focus on the mobility. It should focus on the management of markets and meetings. And these are very important ingredients. So please let's give him another round of applause. As I've said, today's event is brought to us by kind courtesy of various sponsors: SuperSem Associated Consultants, ABP Consult Limited, and our media partners, GhIE News and GhIE 99.7. Today's session is live on all GhIE social media handles. I also wish to, at this point, acknowledge the presence of various dignitaries, especially the GhIE Council members, as well as our special invited guests from the political parties. I would acknowledge you by name, but I am aware that representatives of the New Patriotic Party is here present. A representative of the National Democratic Congress is also here present. Please, you are welcome. Our next speaker Oh, please forgive me. And of course, as I said, political parties. Another group that is also here present is the representative of the movement for change. Please, you are welcome. Our next speaker to lead us in a presentation of the GhIE's proposal on urban public GhIE's proposal on urban public transportation is the GhIE's president-elect, Engineer Ludwig Hesse. Please join me with a loud round of applause as we welcome him. You will need this as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, Belom. This is on urban public transportation. And in October last year, TV3 carried a story on Ayalulu. And they showed, I brought a play here. I'm not sure whether they can carry the sound. But basically, the Ayalulu bus is sitting and rotting out at Achimota. And they quoted the AMA chief executive previously. I said that the NDC had bought 3 times the number of buses that were required. 80 were required, and they have bought 240. So that's why they're having problems. But at that time, in 2023, the buses were sitting. They were damaged. So if they're 240, that means there should have been spares to be running. But the system was not running. And it was being blamed on over procurement, which also brings up the issue of procurement. When I was part of the urban transport project that started the BRT. And it all ended up as a procurement of buses. And if that becomes our solution, when we look for procurement opportunities only, and not having a comprehensive solution to our problems, then it will end up that way. So though I'm not talking about procurement here, and I'm not talking about corruption here, the way we behave in implementing our projects is very vital. Now, I will do a little introduction, problem statement, provision, previous efforts at solving the problems, and what our proposals are. I think this has been said by India Mangdus already, that we are an urbanized country now. 56.7%, as of 2021, were living in urban areas. And about half of it were in Accra and Ashanti region. And it's projected that 70% of us will be living in urban areas by the year 2050, by the UN. Our main proposition for this urban public transportation is a focus on road-based public transport system to move up to 80% of all persons' trips in major urban areas of Ghana. And of course, this focus is not mine. It's in the urban policy. It's one of the goals of the urban policy of Ghana. So this statement here is not my statement. It's not that of the institution. And our initial focus, again, it was mentioned that we attempted to do BRT in Accra, is to, again, come back to these 2 big cities, Accra and Kumasi, and see how we can start systematically resolving the problems of transportation. Problem statement. The biggest problem we have is the urban sprawl, that the city is growing. If you look at the pictures on your right, you see Accra as 1990 in the developed area of Accra in 1990 on the top and 2015 below. So you see how the city is just sprawling. And this brings increased commuting times, that people have to travel longer to get to jobs. And it also starts segregating the society. Poor people live in one place and richer people live in. So the poor people will live in slums close to the city center. And if they are forced out of the city center and they go out of the city, that means they are further away from jobs and they have to commute long distances to get to their jobs. And it makes quality of life poor. The biggest mode of transportation in cities generally is walking and public transport. In Kumasi, this was studied about 2 or 3 years ago. 50% of all trips are made by walking, and 43% is by public transport, trotro, taxi, or bus. Majority of these are in trotros. And only 5%, read it clearly, read my lips, only 5% of all trips made in Kumasi about 2 or 3 years ago was by the private car. The cars that all of us drove here. Only 5% of all trips. In Accra in 2007, 70+% of all trips were made by informal transport. This is trotro, taxi, and other forms of public transport. And less than 5% of these trips in Accra were made by large buses. And if you look at these two numbers, all road improvement works will continue to focus on providing more space and free movement for the private car. So when we say the road is small, widen it. When we widen it, we are going to do 10 lanes on the motorway. And who are we providing for? The private car. And meanwhile, majority of our movement is by public transport in the cities. And so this is something that I want us to reflect on. Institutional arrangements. A recent study, the Urban Roads is running the project called KUMAP, Kumasi Urban Mobility and Accessibility Project. And there were a lot of studies that were done, and they were talking about fragmentation and lack of coordination among national and local government agencies. And this is a key problem in meeting up, because everybody is doing something, and national government is sitting there, and we are doing everything, and everybody is in its own space. Meanwhile, what is the management in the urban space? Zero. Public transport has been self-regulated by the unions, and when we wanted change, the biggest stumbling block to change is the unions, because they are organized and they have livelihoods around the business they are doing. So they will do everything in their power to protect their livelihood. Meanwhile, the way they earn their livelihood is not in the best interest of the city as a whole, if we want to manage the city properly. And this is where we need to combine. It's the same problem like Galamsey. Land use management and urban transportation. Low capacity at the local level for both. The best capacity you have is at national level, but at the local level, there's very little capacity. Lack of coordination at the greater metropolitan area. We've broken the cities down into various municipal areas, and there are some services and activities that these small municipalities cannot manage. If I have to take public transport from Sakumono to Accra, I'll go through about 8 assemblies, municipal assembly areas. So can they all manage that small space in between them? You need to have a greater metropolitan management of this space before some certain, not all functions. Some functions are more suited for the small municipalities, but there are other functions that are suited for the greater municipal area. Access to jobs. It said that 2/3 of this One Arroyo in 2020 against 30 in Kumasi says that most of the poor people, they are more than 1 hour away from a job in terms of travel in the morning to a job locations. And this is not access. And low-income communities most of the time around. Then our local roads. Even where the people are living, the tractors cannot go there because the road is non-road or no road. Then pollution and climate change issues also come. And this is mainly due to the age of our vehicles. And we don't maintain the engine, so they emit bad GHG gases. Now, it's not like Engineer Kwachi said, it's not like we have not thrown money to these problems before. We have. But it appears that we don't have the solutions we are looking for. National Transport Policy, Objectives 4215, says establish mass transport systems in urban areas with intermodal facilities and interchanges. This is a goal in the urban transport policies as late as 2020. And I can tell you this statement was in the policy that I worked on when I was working in urban roads in 2007, when we were doing the urban transport project. It hasn't changed. But meanwhile, the way we do things have not changed. But on paper, we say we'll do this. The National Transport Policy under this goal says that, among others, says the strategy is to promote road-based mass transport system, including extending bus rapid transit corridors, When they were saying that, they were assuming that the Accra to Amasama is a BRT corridor. It isn't. We never built BRT in Ghana, never. We did some few priority things there, and we called it BRT. And so this will say that we extend them. Have we extended them since 2020? No. Review and strengthen institutional arrangements governing the mass transit system. So you see that if you want to solve the mass transit system, there are institutional issues that you need to deal with. This policy recognizes that, yet we are not putting in the structures, the policy structures, to make sure that we organize ourselves properly to be able to deliver a good public transport system. GhIE in 2016, GhIE is Korea something. They invested in transportation plan for the greater Accra region. And they recommended the development of 6 priority BRT routes in the greater Accra region. And they had a 5-year development plan. By this time, we should have built at least 3 or 4 of them. That's 2016. 5 years was up to 2001, and we are in 2004. Nothing has happened. Absolutely nothing, but this is in the plan. And Koreans came here, they studied our city, and they helped us to draw this program. And this is not the first time this sort of suggestion has been made. In 2005, the transport planning of Accra suggested something similar, yet nothing happens. Down today, there's a Kumasi urban mobility, the KUMAP. It's ongoing. My firm even participated in the tender to see if we could do the study. And various studies has been done to support this thing. And enhancement of Kumasi bus operation, preparation, and BRT projects feasibility study has been done. Kumasi urban mobility diagnosis and readiness assessment is been done. Kumasi bus rapid transit institutional plan report 2022 is been done. Industry transition strategy, how to deal with DPRTU and things, is been done. A consultant has now been selected to commence the consulting services for feasibility analysis and business model, etc. So these processes have started. Now, would they end up as studies, or the recommendations that are coming from this report and the other things, are we going to implement them in the way that is sustainable? For me, these are the key questions. So what are our proposals for today? Basically, say, do what the policy says. Mass urban transportation system, aim at 80% of person trips. Prioritize BRT. In the next 4 years, if you're a political party here, commit that you do 2 corridors from Kumasi and 2 BRT corridors in Accra. And deliver them with all the institutional arrangements that are required to going on. The projects we are doing in Accra and Kumasi, can we review them to see how BRT compliant they are? Or how public transport compliant they are? Because we are building them for cars and not for mass public transport. BRT implementation alongside, we have to do traffic management alongside the BRT itself. We have to decentralize institutional and regulatory framework. We have to get buy-in from the unions. We have to enforce the regime. And we have to have standard for buses, including electric buses. Private sector empowerment to deliver services. A strategic urban development framework within which this BRT thing is working on. Whilst you are doing this, you have to be doing all these things. It's not just you do the BRT corridor and you don't have a strategic urban development framework, the BRT will not be sustainable. So these are some of the things. Reduction in the large backlog of urban roads that require construction and rehabilitation. These all have to be done alongside investing into these 2 routes, even if we are focusing on Kumasi and Accra as starters. But we have to start working in other urban areas so that they don't get to the state in which Kumasi and Accra are today. And then the last proposal, and this is on maintenance of roads in general, because we are talking about a road-based system. Prioritize road maintenance with legislative reinforcement to use the road fund for road maintenance, traffic management, and road safety only. We have bastardized the road fund, how it is used. Money comes in and we use it to do development, and it's supposed to be for maintenance. And the almost maintenance culture is dead. We see overlays, but really, are they the only maintenance solutions? Provide for a formula for fund allocation to the MMDAs, because if you have to maintain the urban roads, part of the road fund, how does it get to the assemblies? If it doesn't get to the assemblies, to use it for the maintenance. There are road agencies in the assemblies, and when you go to them, in my assembly, you go to them and they don't have money to do anything. and then the automatic adjustment of the road fund levy, so that it doesn't become a political thing every time you want to upgrade it. Now, electricity, there's automatic adjustment. Water, there's automatic adjustment. Why can't you have it for road fund levy? So, thank you, and these are the proposals on the tables. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, President-elect of the Ghana Institution of Engineering, Engineer Ludwig GhIE. Please, let's give him another round of applause. So, as I said, the proposals by the Ghana Institution of Engineering towards supporting political manifesto preparation for the 2024 national elections focuses on 4 themes. The first theme we had discussed highlights from was by Engineer Magnus Kwashi, which focused on the management of urban spaces. The second thematic area of the proposals by the Ghana Institute of Engineering was just made by Engineer Ludwig GhIE, and it focused on urban transport management. Both presentations highlight a very significant challenge we are confronted with in the management of our urban setting, and the highlights have focused on the 2 major urban areas we have in Ghana. What Engineer Ludwig GhIE has done is to diagnose the problem we have in our urban area in relation to transportation, and he identified that fragmentation, poor institutional arrangements, etc., are key contributors to the challenges we have in urban mobility, and has demonstrated that the GhIE and engineering professionals have the capacity to help solve this problem based on our very detailed understanding of the issues. These discussions, as I said, would continue in a breakout session which would follow from here, where we would further delve into the issues which have been highlighted to us. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please permit me to welcome by name the following individuals who are here present representing various political parties and political organizations who have been invited. First on the list I have here is the Honorable Yao Boabia Samoa, Head of Policy and Special Advisor to Alan Tremantin from the Movement of Change. Please. You are welcome. Also here present is Nana Yao Sapon, Political Assistant to the Honorable Alan Tremantin. You are welcome. Next is Professor Ababio, Head Environment Committee, NDC, and member of the Manifesto Committee of the NDC. Thank you. You are welcome. Also here with us is Kwame Asase, Rapporteur, Infrastructure Committee of the NDC, and also member of the Manifesto Committee. You are welcome. To join us later is Dr. Stanislav Adiaba, member of the Infrastructure Committee of the NDC, who has confirmed he's on his way. We proceed now to hear the third lead presentation. This presentation will be made by the distinguished emeritus professor at KNUST and one-time provost of the College of Engineering, who will be presenting to us on the GhIE's proposal on the management of artisanal and small-scale mining. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Professor Momade. Hey, please give him a louder round of applause.
Thank you very much. And I once again would like to welcome all of you. I've been asked to give a presentation on a very tricky, very important topic. That is the artisanal and small-scale mining. Well, as I said, I'd like to welcome you. And I think that if you are here from any political party, you must take this very seriously. What we are doing, very often you hear, oh, what are the engineers doing? I mean, I hear it very often. Sometimes I get angry with that. What are they doing? They are working. And one of the things I used to say While they're away, okay. I'll say that one of the things I used to say is that it looks as if engineers don't go on strike. Why? Because they're always thinking about the result of going on strike. What will happen to the country? If all engineers should go on strike, what will happen to the country? So they don't go, they themselves, they're always thinking that we must not go on strike, and that is why they don't go on strike. So I, representing the Institute of Engineers to talk about artisanal and small-scale mining. As I said, it's a very serious issue. We'll see how serious it is. So we start. As introduction, we know that mining should be done sustainably. Otherwise, we'll spoil our environment, we'll spoil everything we do. And so there's a need for that sustainable mining. We also know that the artisanal mining has been in the country for centuries, at least 2 centuries, I think, more than 2,000 years, let me put it that way. And it is estimated that about 30% of Ghana's total gold output is through the activities of estimated 1 million small-scale miners. And I like to mention that very often we talk about only gold mining. Very soon we will be seeing, I think, we'll be seeing that it is not only gold, but because Ghana is rich with other resources, they are talking about critical minerals now, and sometimes the critical minerals are not that huge deposits. They are small deposits, and very soon if you see small-scale miners going into critical minerals or so, then we will have more trouble. So there's a need for us to see how we can manage ourselves. So the African Mining Vision seeks to create a transparent, equitable, and optimal exploitation of mineral resources for sustainable growth and socio-economic development. Now, the sector, as I said, has grown in many ways. In terms of operational methods and sophistication, because we have introduced machinery in the sector. Despite these improvements, we have problems with safety, we have problems with security and social and environmental issues. And therefore, especially in the area of severe environmental damage, I'll show you some pictures as to what is going on and why we should be concerned as a country, concerned as political party as to what we should be doing. The next. Now, for example, we have seen this very often, the degradation in the mining areas. The next one slide. Mostly you see not only in the land degradation, you see forest degradation, and we see river degradation of the rivers. And very often I say if you go from the eastern region all the way to the western region, most of the rivers are dead. Let me put it that way. They are dead. They are dead because they don't have the fishes that they should be having. It's polluted. The planktons that are supposed to be eaten by the fishes, they are not there because they don't have sunlight. And so they are dead. Maybe once in a while you might see some catfish, but the thing is that they are dead. And therefore, so if you look at the country from eastern region all the way to the western region, the rivers are dead. You won't have fish. We won't have all the things that are supposed to be in the river. We don't have. So that's how serious that is. Now, the next thing. So you see that the rivers are polluted. If you look at the right-hand side, you see samples of water that have been taken from the rivers. It is not only the fish, but also the water that we drink. We don't have the water that we drink. Water and Ghana Water Company is having problems with how to process and give us water. That's how serious it is. And so they are complaining that it's becoming more and more expensive. And this is why I like to say that very often we leave out the engineers also, the academics, as to how they can solve the problems for us. And that is why the academics are engineers, are the universities, and so on and so forth. You must engage them as to how to solve the problems. Now, this one shows work that has been done, supported by Danida, work that has been done showing how serious mercury contamination is. How serious mercury, so all the things that you see on the left-hand side is that the soil, that area is contaminated with mercury. And seriously, what it means is that we will have mercury in the food crops that we eat. We have mercury in the water that we drink. So in other words, when I saw this, I say, look, it looks as if we are killing the country softly. We are killing the country softly because if we don't take any action now, this problem will spread to the north because they are beginning to what? They are working at the north also. The small scale and Galamsey guys are also up there. So it means that if we don't take action now, and that is why I'm very serious. I say if political parties are here, they must take this very seriously. We are killing our country slowly. Within some time, you will see that, and already you see in the newspapers that they are complaining about Ghana cocoa that has mercury in it. And, that's how serious it is. And at the same time, we are getting what? Is my time up? Yeah. Very soon, we are getting competition from China. They have started growing cocoa. And very soon, so it means that we can go about talking about having money for development. Very soon, our cocoa may not be attractive. And so we will not have money for development. But that's how serious it is. The next one. So, but what is interesting is that past governments have tried to do something about it. Now, by establishing Minerals Commission, that to give licenses to small-scale miners, but not the Galamsey guys. They don't go there for licenses. The Geological Survey Authority, there's something that we are missing very much. We are not using Geological Survey as we should use it. It's just, I don't even know what to say. Very often, it is the foreigners that will come and tell us where we have this mineral or we have that mineral, right? The Geological Survey may not have information on that. And so, and then the Precious Minerals Marketing Company. These are companies that have been set up. And then when we see that things are not going well, we try to use force. The military, we have all these guys. Can we go to the next slide? So what are the reasons for the problems that we have? What are the reasons for the problem that we have? Poor planning and coordination of government interventions. I don't know how this is done. I know that the mines department, they go around, right? I know about that. They go around to see what is going, but I don't know what it's become, this Galamsey and so on, so has become so political that they are not able to handle the issue. And also, there's something that I read. I also was looking at the literature, the case study in Mali or so, that we don't involve, and our miners have said, the small-scale guys have said that when we are going to do policy, we don't consult them. We think that they are not important, and therefore we don't consult them. And so we bring out something that they don't, they are not going to work with it. So it's important for us to involve the miners. When I say miner, I know the mining has, we have the miners who are on the floor, on the ground working. Then we have the intermediate people, and so on and so forth. But I think we should be involving the miners in all our policy formulations and so on and so forth. So what are the proposals that we have to tackle this? One of them is that we must establish a fund that can look at the whole problem. We must establish a fund. I know that we have so we are recommending that we should establish a mineral exploration fund. That is important. As I said, the Geological Survey very often doesn't know what we are. So there's a need for us to look at the entire country, if it is possible. We should spend money on that and find out delineate where the various deposits are. For example, I'm working with some of the guys from Takwa. We are looking at forgive me for the term I'm going to use, pegmatites. That is between Winneba and Mankwadze, for example. It's supposed to contain very important minerals that way. And so we want to do detailed. One of the things we don't do is detailed mineral exploration to know exactly what is where. And therefore, there's a need for us to have the funding to support these things. So can we go to the next one? Where can we get the funding? Already we have the MIF, right? The MIF has been established, and we are saying that the percentage of the corporate income tax from mining companies can also be a source, donor agencies, and revenues that will be generated from successful exploration projects. So we are recommending that we can look at these as sources of funding for the Mineral Exploration Fund. As for the administration, when it is established, we will know how to look at it. So can we go to the next one? There's a need to strengthen the regulatory framework and law enforcement. It's good. We need to do that because without these institutions, we cannot. But we will also talk about how to do this in collaboration with the other members of the community. So there's a need to strengthen the regulatory framework, law enforcement, train and equip them. When I was looking at this, I was looking, very often in Ghana we say, we need vehicles, right? And then, unfortunately, when you go to funerals, you find the vehicle there. So we are not using the vehicle for what it's supposed to be, but we are using the vehicle for other things. For example, last time I saw that they were complaining about, is it an ambulance carrying something? The ambulance is not supposed to carry those things. It's supposed to be used to carry, sick people to the hospital. But we are using that. We cry for it, but when it is given, we use it for other purposes. But there's a need to have that. Otherwise, they cannot go around the country and so on and so forth. One of the problems we have also is the registration, streamline, decentralize the ASM registration and licensing processes. It should be possible for us to manage this, and I will make some recommendations as to what can be done. As I said, demarcate, and reserve specific land plots. So if we are able to get the geological surveys to delineate the possible areas where you can have small scale and large scale mining and so on and so forth, we can manage this very well. The question of alternative livelihoods is very important. It is possible to do so. It's a matter of, especially in which area we have the operations going on. There are things that can be done in those areas farming, poultry, so on and so forth. So there must be some alternative livelihood. And creation of our awareness. I think that some time ago we were talking about some of the miners. They are exposed to extreme, what they call mercury, vapor, and so on and so forth. And they have problems, So, but they don't, I think that they are not aware that what they are doing, some of them are not aware that what they are doing is going to cause problems for them. They may think that it's short term, oh, I need the money to send somebody to school. Yes, it's true. But if you do that and you die when your children are in school because of kidney problems, then you are not getting what you are not helping. So they must be made aware of some of the things that some of the dangers in using and so on. And so they must be aware, and the community must also be aware of what is all about. I like the third point, community-led monitoring and reporting. I would like to combine it with the fourth point, which is community mining. Again, I would like to mention what happened in Mali some years back by Anglo Gold, or not Anglo Gold, Ashanti. What they did was to organize the community. Some form what they call cooperatives and so on and so forth. I think it is good for us to do that in Ghana. And I know that they have introduced that. I believe, I understand that the World Bank has funded something like that, community mining. I think one of the best approaches to manage that area will be to get them into community so that the community is involved in the mining, in the small scale or galamsey mining. Why am I saying so? That if it is possible to organize it that way, they may have representatives. So sometimes you can begin to operate it as if it is a company. Yeah, companies have meetings, right? So you will have meetings where you can invite the EPA, right? You can invite the what do you call it, the mining department and so to sit at the meeting so that you can discuss the whole process, what is going on, what difficulties they have, how you can solve those things and so on and so forth. So you operate it more or less like a company. So the community thing, and that is what they did in Mali or so, some 2 or 20 years or so ago. So I think that is one of the things that we should be looking at in order to manage the small scale and galamsey. But also in this process, they will also see that they are involved in the whole thing. They see themselves as very important in the process. But if we go on lashing them and so on and so forth, that is not a good idea. But if they feel that, hey, they are also important too in this whole process, then you can manage the whole the activities of these people. Can we go to the next one? Of course, the government agencies and the society. So these are the benefits, right? The benefits. I think the benefits we know already. Yeah, we know the benefits already. But one of the things I would like to mention also, to build capacity and knowledge. As I said, they must have the capacity and knowledge. Then also, again, let me emphasize the idea of community thing. So when this is done, all these benefits will come. Building capacity, minimizing impact on the environment, regulates and minimize the ejection of harmful processing chemicals, reduction in small-scale mining-related accidents, reduction in health risks, possible reclamation of used lands, and so on and so on. So if it's acting as a community, the community knows the benefits of this process, or the benefits that will accrue to them, then we can begin to see the change in the. Can we go to the next? So, in conclusion, this is what I want to say, that the multifaceted approach is needed, involving all stakeholders, including but not limited to the government itself. That's where the parties come in. The governmental institutions, that's where the EPA and all those guys come in. The society, that's the community itself. And also, yeah, we sometimes leave out the academics. My friends from Takwa will tell you they have done a whole lot of things on small-scale mining, but it is there. But when we organize the community, then we can begin to train them, give them knowledge as to what and what and what, and also the stakeholders, the NGOs, and so on and so forth. It needs all of us to be able to manage the ASM, the artisanal and small-scale mining. And then we can be happy. They know that they are also part of the whole thing, part of Ghana. They are not being chased by soldiers and so on and so forth. They are not always in the news, or if they'll be in the news, it is for the fact that they are doing good work. And that is why they are in the news. I'd like to, on this note, like to thank you all for listening.
Thank you very much, Professor Francis Momade, for this very insightful and very detailed highlight of the theme on artisanal small-scale mining. Please let's give him another round of applause. As we continue, permit me to acknowledge our sponsors for today's discussions: SuperSem, Associated Consultants, ABB Consults, and our media partners, GhIE News on TV, GhIE 99.7 on radio, and online. At this juncture, we are drawing very, very close to our first plenary session, where we have been looking at highlights of the proposals made by the GhIE to support political party manifesto preparations for the 2024 national elections, which is just 109 days away. We have been joined by representative of the Convention People's Party, Madam Joyce Labi, the Deputy General Secretary. Yes, please, let's acknowledge her with a round of applause. After hearing our fourth presenter, who would be giving us a highlight of the theme on sustainable energy, we shall take very, very brief statements of support from representatives of the various political parties, political organizations, and civil society organizations here present. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, please join me in welcoming none other than the chairperson of the Electrical and Electronic Division of the Ghana Institution of Engineering, Engineer Ebenezer Atu Roberts. Please, let's give him a round of applause. As we know, sustainability is a very key theme, and he will be sharing with us very, very, very quickly his insights as a highlight to this theme.
Good morning to you all, and thanks for the opportunity to do this presentation. And coming on the back of the talk on sustainable mining, it is also very essential for the energy transition that we have, because we've all heard of lithium that is being mined in Ghana, and is key to the energy transition plan. And not only lithium, but there are also certain rare earth elements which are key to that plan. So as we do mining sustainably, it would also be enabling the energy transition plan that we have. So I'm going to talk briefly on the sustainable energy. I've already been told that I should keep within the 10 minutes so that we can quickly go into the plenary sessions. But just a quick overview of the energy sector. Of course, we know of the power shortages and reliability issues recorded also by ESA. Inadequate infrastructure, the grazing efficiency leads to high transmission and distribution losses, also recorded by the Energy Commission. And of course, we have regulatory and institutional gaps, the lack of a robust and transparent regulatory environment creates uncertainty for potential investors, and it stalls progress, as was recorded by the NDPC, and underutilization of renewable energy. As of 2022, renewable energy, excluding hydro, reached its highest share, being 0.7 of the total energy mix. So we find our energy supply plan, which shows the projected peak demand from 2023 to 2027, rising from 3.9 megawatts to about 5.1. And we show the margins that we have. So basically, this table is to show us where we are and the shortfalls that we have going forward. And then we have a broad study that was done in 2018. This was what we could assess as the power system plan. And we see the planning that is required to go in within a 20-year period. And we see the needs that we have and how are we going to get there. We've spoken about integrating more renewable energy. You see that as it goes on, as I said, we're about 0.7% and we seek to rise. And then after some years, we will get more integration of solar, wind, and biomass. That's according to the plan. But as to how this is going to be achieved in practice, we see the next chart, which shows where we are. And we've seen that because of our growth over the years, more thermal generation is what we have been doing, and then less of renewable. But as it goes on, definitely we'll need to look further at increasing on our renewable energy generation. So previous actions, current actions, and gaps. A lot has been done. We heard of the MEDA project and the compact, which brought a lot of infrastructure upgrades and regulatory reforms, and tried to do some energy efficiency projects as well. But a lot of these have not had the kind of impact that we were expecting. Current actions, the National Energy Policy outlines strategies to enhance energy security and promote renewable energy and improve efficiency. However, gaps still exist. And one of the current projects that is going on is a scaling renewable energy project, which is a project it's funded by the Climate Investment Fund and supported by the African Development Bank. And one of the objectives was to do 35 mini-grids in 60 rural communities, and also to do 12,000 grid-tied systems, net metering systems for public and SMEs. And also to do 11,000 stand-alone home systems. These are some of the current actions that are being taken, but as to how they are adequate to help us in the transition plan is a question that we want to look at, because we think we need to move faster, we need to close the gap quickly, and to ensure that we can reach the targets that we have set. Ghana actually has set to reach net zero by 2070, and if you know what we mean by net zero, it means that by 2070, we should be able to generate as much from renewable energy to meet our consumption. But the drive there means that we need to take certain critical policy initiatives to be able to bridge this gap. And so the project I mentioned, scaling renewable energy, is a good project, but the target of it, which largely was to public sector and small, medium-scale enterprises. The ones for homes were largely to have standalone systems. But it's possible, really, to expand on that and to ensure that homeowners will aggressively get into that and be able to meet some of their energy needs. Now, the proposals we have for... It's gone off. Okay, I'll read from here. So we are saying that for renewable energy, solar, wind, and biomass, we must set clear targets and policies to establish a transparent system for monitoring and reporting progress towards these targets. And investment incentives. We need to put more money into it. There are a lot of funds that are supposed to be easily accessed by various persons who are interested in going renewable, but we need to incentivize them more so that they can get into that. And of course, local manufacturing is something that is key, because if we want to bring down the cost of solar panels for people to be able to access them easily, we need to encourage local manufacturing. And I know that there are some companies that actually started, and companies like GhIE at a point were trying to encourage that, but there were bottlenecks along the way. I think that government should endeavor, and political parties should take it on to enhance local manufacturing of solar panels and some of these facilities. And of course, policy support. These things cannot happen when you don't have the right framework in place. Let me run quickly through it. So key indicators, there are targets that need to be met, and investment levels have to increase. And of course, employment. Interesting thing about renewable is that when you put in the investment, it also creates jobs for various technicians and personnel who can help in the installation of these systems. So it's very key. And of course, for our electricity infrastructure, we say that the grid needs to be modernized. Now we have too many losses, 22% or more, as they say. And if we modernize and make it more smart, I mean, smarter grids are being used everywhere. And when we invest in that, it will help to ensure that our grid is more efficient, and we would reduce the technical and commercial losses. So, grid reliability, reduce energy losses, and improve energy access for households and for businesses, job creation and industrialization. And then I'll speak briefly on nuclear. Nuclear is one technology that has matured. I know you may have your own views about it, but the technology as it stands now has matured so much. We have what we call small-scale modular reactors, which are not as big and as large as the ones we know, but are easily deployable, can easily be set, and then can work efficiently, and can actually help in establishing industrial zones where they are mainly backed by clean energy that comes from nuclear. And don't think so much about the waste, because there are technologies that really enhance the disposal of nuclear waste. The key to success is to continue and follow up what the Nuclear Power Ghana is doing. They've done a lot of work. They've actually selected sites and are at the point of even talking to the people that they can buy from. And I think the work that they've done should be continued and should be sustained through. And then we have proposals also for hydrogen power, which is also a clean form of energy. My own view is that the future is not really electric, but it's also hydrogen. And in Ghana, we have private organizations that have actually started establishing hydrogen plants. All these must be followed through and established well, so that we can follow through and bring these to bear on our economy and to create clean energy as we seek to meet the targets of net zero for 2070. So in brief, I'll just end that. I think when we go into the plenary, I have my seniors here who would contribute a lot to the further discussions that we are going to have. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Engineer Atu Robert, for the very insightful insights you have shared with us on the key theme on sustainable energy management to help our political parties as they make their campaigns and political agenda for the national elections that are coming up. Time check now, it's almost 11:30. According to our outline, at 11:30, we should be in our breakout sections where we would be diving deeper into the issues that have been highlighted here in this plenary. But before that, we would take very brief statements in not more than 1 minute from our political organizations here present, and I'll very quickly call on the first on the list. I have Honorable Yao Boabenya Samoa, or the representative of the Movement for Change, to very quickly give us a short statement in no more than 1 minute. This will be followed by a statement to be given by the representative of the NDC, if they are here present. Yes, they are. So, as I said earlier on, the Movement of Change is represented by Honorable Yao Boabenya Samoa and Nana Yao Sapon. The NDC has Professor Ababio, Mr. Kwame Asase, and Dr. Stanislav Adiaba in attendance, and the CPP also has Madam Joyce Labi, the Deputy General Secretary in attendance. Please, NPP, in less than 1 minute. Hey, sorry, Movement for Change.
I suspect you have MPP sympathies, and you've taken 10 seconds off the time, but I'll take 2 minutes. 1 minute is not sufficient to have brought us here. First of all, we want to commend the Ghana Institution of Engineers. They definitely have the capacity, undoubtedly, but we'll recommend that they deepen their policy support approach. At this time, if you're bringing proposals, I guess many of the parties have already finished their manifestos. At least they are struggling to. We finished ours long ago, the Great Transformational Plan. And though I'm proud to say that most of the things being touched on here have been touched on by the Great Transformational Plan. You have a ministry dedicated to infrastructure. Out of 40 ministries, we plan to set up a sewerage, independent sewerage authority. We also have an intention to develop Galamsey away from the attack approach in an inclusive corporate manner, as Prof proposed. But above all, we intend to make civil society and social input an integral part of state policy formulation processes. So to that extent, the Movement for Change in a government of national unity will elevate civil society organizations like the Ghana Engineers to a state partner who will advocate public support of your causes so that the state can get the benefit of your thinking more directly at the beginning of policy formulation, rather than struggling to swipe us sideways. Because essentially, your job is participation, monitoring, and evaluation. So what you are doing today is participation. How impactful will it be? If it comes to inclusion, then it means that your policies have to be taken care of by the state in order to have a better approach to what we do, because it's of us. In terms of monitoring, I think we are failing. What is the most critical situation going on now in the public sector? The abuse of the infilling policy. And we've spoken cities and I haven't heard anything about it. All around you, there are serious redevelopments going on. There are issues about land ownership, issues about appropriateness of some of those developments. Indeed, a policy that started as a beneficial policy for the public good, public infilling, has turned into a process of abuse, naked abuse of acquisition of public properties. The Institution of Engineers is a beneficiary of that policy for good. That's why you are located here. But look around you. It's what is happening the right thing. When drains, swamplands, gutters, everything in choice areas are being taken over by persons, private persons associated with politically exposed persons. These are the things as civil society organizations you must do to help to monitor and evaluate public policy, to determine whether the policies you are proposing are working or whether what is being implemented is actually benefiting the people. So for the movement for change, we are not afraid of engaging the people of Ghana through public courses, through institutions like yours, in order to produce the best for the people of Ghana. Thank you very much.
So once again, thank you very much, the Honorable Yao Boabin Asamoah, representative of the Movement for Change. I'll reserve my comments. I now have the honor of inviting Professor Ababio of the NDC.
Thank you very much. So in these days of alleged plagiarism, I should be very careful what I say after Yao has eloquently stated his point. But I agree with him in total. That is a very good exercise, and it falls in line with NDC presidential candidates' ambition of contacting those who matter in the formulation of our manifesto. So we've moved virtually everybody who matters, and I'm very happy to be part of this exercise. And I'm particularly happy when the president made a point that they have now have a paradigm shift, moving from the kitchen perhaps to the main gate, so that they can be part of the system. And I think that is well placed. If you look at what has gone on over the years, in fact, we have suffered the problem that we are having now because of perhaps you are inactive or inaction. Let me cite one example. I know you were very sure that there was not going to be any possibility of any government putting up 111 hospitals at a time, and whether it was useful. One would have expected the engineers to perhaps speak, but no word came from you. I'm aware, so 2001, the deputy president made a comment. And I'm aware that if you were very active, we shouldn't engage one engineer in all national contracts. And an engineer who is not a member of your association, you should have stood up against it. And I think that is about time we act and act. So I would urge you not to leave it here, to continue with some advocacy, hold the bull by the horn. Any government that misbehaves, in quotes, please educate us, because you have the work without to do that. I talked about lands that are being consumed. All the floodplains in Accra are gone. We still complain about flooding. The 1958 plan gave us 38 green spaces in Accra. Today, we don't have 3. These are something that you can educate the people and hold the government accountable. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Professor Ababio, of the head of Environment Committee of the National Democratic Congress, for your insights. I now have the pleasure of inviting Madame Joyce Labi of the CPP to also give us a statement.
Good morning. It's not yet afternoon. I'm Joyce Labi, Deputy Secretary of the Convention's People's Party, the Mother of Ghana. I see this program as one of the integral forum of nation development, and I would like to thank the Ghana Institution of Engineering for organizing such program. After listening to our dear engineers and professors, I am compelled to say that it seems you have been ignored of your involvement in national development. by the authorities that have been in power over decades. Currently, Ghana is in a mess. Transportation, energy, mining, etc. We are not in a good taste. I therefore assure you that CPP will work with you and rely on your rich knowledge to build Ghana, our motherland, when you bring us power back, when you give us power to come back to governance. We will work with the engineers, we will work with the professors to make sure that what we did in 1956, 57, 70s ago, we'll bring it back. Ghana is in a mess. Bring CPP back for us to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Please let's give our speakers so far a round of applause. From what we have heard from the movement of change, the NDC and the CPP, everybody seems to agree that the Ghana Institution of Engineering, and indeed engineering practitioners, have a role to play in national development, and we should step up and participate a lot more actively in national development discourse. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we are also joined here by representatives of civil society organizations, namely Imani and GhIE, if that's correct. Please, can you stand to be acknowledged? Is Imani Africa present? Okay, and GhIE, no. Okay, are there any other civil society organizations here present who have not been acknowledged? Any political party organizations that have not been acknowledged? Are there any courageous, independent presidential aspirants who have not been acknowledged, or their representatives? Engineer Michael Dede. Okay, well, it takes a lot of courage to step forward. So thank you very much for your contributions. Sorry. Imani. Oh, where is Imani? Imani is not here. Is Imani here? Is Imani represented here, please? Oh. Yes or no? Yes? Yes, please stand and be acknowledged. Thank you very much. We have Imani represented here. Okay, but they will not be giving a statement. I believe Franklin would post on Facebook for us to read from there. Well, we are trying to get back in line with the time. As you know, 11 o'clock, we should have gone on our snack break and began the deep dive into the discussions, the highlights of the discussions that have been made from 11:30. As said, we'll break out into 4 groups. One of the venues for our discussions would be this very auditorium, where we would have discussions about management of urban space, which shall be led by various experts, and hear your contributions. Some of the issues highlighted by Engineer Magnus will be further interrogated. Your views, your questions will be taken and addressed. Rapporteurs will take notes, and then we would have a final presentation on this issue. Across from this hall, we also have 2 other offices, one being the Office for the Ghana Consulting Engineers Association, where we would have discussions about urban public transport. We also have various experts to lead us in those discussions and take on board your views. Next to that is the library, where we would have discussions about artisanal small-scale mining. These are very key topical issues that are, confronting us. And then finally, in the council chamber of the GhIE, we would have, which is downstairs from here, we would have another venue for the discussion of the issues raised by Engineer Atu Roberts, as well as in the manifesto document prepared by the Ghana Institute of Engineering to discuss sustainable energy. So, ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, we will take our snack break. I believe we will go downstairs, grab our snacks, and then join in the various panel discussions. Please, this is not the end of the event. The event continues. We are live on GhIE TV on television, GhIE News on radio, and on the various social media handles. We are proudly supported by SuperSem, Associated Consultants, and ABP Consult. Thank you, and we shall please stand and go for our snack break. Please, a round of applause. Oh. to reiterate, we are taking a short break, and then we go on for 15 minutes, snack break, and we have deliberations for 1 hour, and we reconvene at 1 p.m. right here in this hall. Thank you very much, President-elect.
I will also suggest that the leaders of the political groups here, please, if you could step forward, the leaders of the political groups, you meet with our president and Engineer Brock for a short discussion, please. The leaders of the political groups here, the leaders, please just step forward and have a small chat with our president and Engineer Brock.